Today I'm going to show you from start to finish how I painted this using oil paints, paintbrushes, and of course palette knives. Okay, so here's the reference photo for today. I'm working on a 5x5" MDF wood panel, and it's been coated with Michael Hardin's non-absorbent acrylic primer. The stuff is amazing. I'll leave the link in the description below. It's the supplies link. You can also get these MDF wood panels. They come in packs of 5. And now I'm just starting up by mixing some colours for the sky. So this will be quite a dramatic scene. Colours I'm using are titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow deep, cadmium red, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna. And I'm using Gamblin solvent-free gel for my medium. So you'll be surprised how long a 5x5" painting could take. This took me about 40 minutes to create, and I made something a bit more dramatic with this piece, which I'm going to talk about throughout this tutorial. Paintbrushes I'm using. This is a number 8 ivory flats from Rosemary & Co. I'll also leave a link in the description below. You can pick up some of these brushes. These are brushes that I use every painting session. I absolutely love them. They're flat, so they're very versatile, and create some amazing effects, soft edges, hard edges with these brushes. And I used this brush plus a number 4 and a number 2 and a few other brushes. So back to the painting. So I'm starting with trying to create some vibrancy. I kept the paint quite thin because I will be working over the top and blending. This painting is a bit of a different approach I took with this painting. Used quite a bit of thin paint, and then I was working over the top with thick paint and kind of mixing things together a bit more. So because I wanted some drama to this and to this painting, and also some more sort of depth, which you're going to see me create now. I I was happy with this painting. It's slightly dark in some areas, and if you've seen some of my other tutorials, you'd know that I don't like really sort of dark paintings. But I was really happy with how this one turned out. A different kind of approach to painting, which you'll see now. So I'm just laying in basically that light blue, really simple mix, and I'm leaving area for clouds, and there are a lot of colours in these clouds that you're going to see, and you're going to see me kind of mix and blend colours together. I made it look slightly mucky on purpose because, as I said before, that you can get kind of mucky skies, and you can get away with it with painting. So keeping it quite simple for now. I was also being very careful. Working on a 5x5" painting is really difficult, and I thought this would paint this. I could do this painting in about 25 minutes, but no, I was wrong. It probably actually takes longer creating these minis because they're just tiny. They're just so. I felt like I have to be very specific with paint applications, colors, tones, a lot of things to keep in mind with. I don't know why. Maybe it was the scale. But anyway, so a lot of colors in this reference photo. Um, and I'm going to try and mix and play with the tone. So I just mixed the red and white there, and I just want to add a bit of yellow to that, just to make it a little bit more kind of corally. I had fun mixing up these warm colours, and I mean the reference photo is amazing. It's taken from the UK and sent to me from a friend's, and I I'm trying to be a bit careful now. So as you'll see throughout the tutorial, I'm being quite delicate with these first parts, and then I just kind of lose it a little bit, and um, become a little bit looser again. But it's very hard to kind of be quite loose when on this size painting. Um, I mean, you can, but you can either be extremely loose or extremely tight, in my opinion. And to get the best of both worlds on this size was a little bit challenging, but I feel like I pulled it off. I'm happy with it. So again, I'm just placing um, the warm parts down really, and I'm using, I think it's a size 4 now on my ivory flats, and trying to get that mad balance of soft brushes, soft edges, hard edges, um, thin paint, thick paint was great fun to do really. So I'm just lightening up the mix slightly, and you're going to see me um, kind of create more depth in this piece. And usually I like to kind of lay down color and um, leave it and then move on to the next part, adjust it slightly in some areas. But in this piece, I kind of worked quite a lot with the thin to thick. So you lay down thin paint first, and then um, using the surface to blend and mix in other thin paint and thicker paint. I'll try and explain the process as we go, but yeah, it was a nice exercise this was, and I didn't overwork the piece, but here I'm just laying in an indication of some sort of pinky coral areas that I want to sort of showcase a little bit afterwards. But I'll be adding in a bit more, I think, purple and some pinker areas in these areas here shortly. Okay, just adjusting the same mix there, and just I saw that in the reference photo that this area was kind of it would blend into the cool part, which I'm going to add in later. Um, but yeah, quite simple. I I usually like to keep things fairly simple, um, but I think it was a bit slightly complicated. Perhaps that was due to the size of the surface. I mean, 5 by 5 inches is tough. I mean, um, I'm blending here a little bit, but yeah, there's a lot going on in this reference photo, and I don't want to capture everything, obviously, but I want to capture a few things here and there, whilst kind of enjoying it. But I said this is a slightly different way of working for me, where I kind of soften out areas and work over the top of other areas. And yeah, it was great fun. Here I'm just picking out. I'm mixing like a purple color here, but I took some of that coral color in with me, just for some kind of like color harmony. Um, and because I want some of that coral color in with that purple in some areas, and um, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna identify my darkest area, which is going to be too dark, um, and then I'm gonna start applying it shortly. But yeah, it's really difficult. I mean, being so, I mean, I wasn't so loose with this. I kind of went loose a bit later, but I started quite tight. It could be because of the size of the painting. I mean, I think you can either be totally loose or really tight when you're painting, especially on this size. So a bit of medium in that brush. I think this is the size, could be the 4 or 2. I think it's the 4. But anyway, just gonna start knocking in some darks now. And what I'm trying to do here is I don't want to touch the coral color so much now. I'm going to do that later because I'm going to be blending this purple mix in slightly, but I'm just trying to see um, what I can do really with this, and I'm going to be lightening up the same mix shortly as well. So yeah, it does look a bit fiddly now, but I did this for a reason because um, I'll be going a bit looser later and softening areas out, but I wanted this to be quite sort of basic, this part here, and just to block in um, the darkest parts first, which I can then work over with the sort of lighter areas without covering my darks too much. And I'm just going to go a bit lighter now, so nothing complicated at the moment. Um, I think my ideal size is 8 by 8. I mean, the 10 by 10s were okay, 10 inches by 10 inches. Um, I think 8 by 8 is ideal. 10 by 10 is okay, but doesn't quite fit on the camera with the palette, and I want it to sort of show together with my color mixes and everything. And the 8 by 8 serves really well. And I also just like the size of the surface. It's not as small as this one or as large as it's just something that fits perfectly in between, and it's an ideal size. So I'm going to be ordering the 8 by 8 wood panels. So again, trying to keep my darks available there, and I've just lightened up slightly the purple mix there, and I'm still being careful not to touch the coral colours, and I'll be blending and mixing a little bit of that coral colour in shortly. Okay, so a little bit of mixture here of them both there, just to I think to identify this side now. Um, yeah, no, the bottom of this part, which I really enjoyed doing. I really enjoyed doing the palette knife city part, which you're going to see underneath the sky shortly, and I really loved all of it. Really, I mean, um, it's such an amazing thing to be able to use paintbrushes and palette knives, and um, these are water mixable oil paints. So I think I only used two or three main brushes and then a couple for blending, but they're just so easy to clean. And sometimes I do clean the brushes in between um, with water, and I dry them really, really well. And then I just use a bit of medium. But it's such an easy cleanup. And then after the painting session, I will clean the brushes with lukewarm water in my hands, and then I use dishwasher soap to really get the oil out, and then lie them flat and let them dry naturally. So, okay, here I'm just um, uh, what am I doing here? I'm just adding in some um, same parts really, the same part of the mix here. It's amazing how long this took me. This part. I mean, it's a 5 by 5 inch. You know how small 5 inches is. It's this must be a two brush, size two brush, but yeah, without getting so fiddly, just something basic to add in, and I think the real fun part will come with my palette knife. So I'm just going to lighten up the same mix again, and um, blend in a little bit more into the areas there. And also in this painting, I realised that um, I left like a little bit of white was showing because okay, I'm working on a white surface, and yeah, a little bit of white was kind of sparkling through, which I kind of like. Like it wasn't like accidentally left like lots of whiteness on like the surface coming through, but it was like kind of quite sparkly, which I kind of liked. So okay, here I've just picked up a little bit more purple, and the paint is a little bit thicker here, I think, so it's sitting on top of what I already have down. And clouds, I mean, I'm still trying to. I'm obsessed with um, edges, like soft edges, hard edges. Uh, I just love it, and I'm always trying to find uh, that balance of abstraction, impressionism, but something that looks like clouds from a distance. Like this painting, it did look pretty um, quite realistic, believe it or not. Um, when you're sort of far away from the painting, and then you get a look close up, and it's just like random shapes. I really love that effect, that oil painting that you can do with oil painting, oil paints, um, and keeping things kind of simple, playing with tonal values, keeping your color palette pretty limited, um, and just not overworking areas. But this was a strange way of working for me today. I've worked this way before, but as you can see here, that my color there was really thin. Like I used a little bit of medium to thin it down, but then I'm really sort of scrubbing it in now, and I'm blending um, with what's already down. I did that because I wanted, yeah, to play with a bit more depth in this piece with thin paint and thick paint. And yeah, it was quite fun to do, really, especially on this size. I don't really usually like working kind of dark and kind of not muddy, but like blending everything out together. And I did that on purpose. Not blending everything out, but some things, just to push things back slightly. I usually do that with tone rather than thickness of paints, but I did both in this paint session, and I quite enjoyed it actually. So just softening some areas there now, and just tying a few areas together really. Oh, shout out to my mum, by the way. Sorry, mum, if you're watching this. um, Advice was to put blue or white tack on the back of the panel, and it works a treat. So thanks very much. Shout out to Janet Fear. Thanks a lot. Yeah, lifesaver. So just a few marks here, um, just to again indicate where I want to add some of that purple mix, really. So it's fairly thin, the paints, and I'm kind of scrubbing it in quite loosely as well, because I'm going to blend all of this top part um, back. So I'm going to push it back, yeah, by blending, um, which is a new, not new, but like not something that I've been kind of doing recently. Like what I would have done recently is to cover the entire sky in blue, or most of the sky in blue, and then worked the purple and reds into the blue mix just really subtly. But this time I decided to do it this way around. Okay, so it's about 20 minutes into the video, and if you made it this far, then perhaps you'd like to know that I do have Patreon. Patreon has lots of exclusive content that I don't share anywhere online. Early ad-free access to all my YouTube videos, downloadable resources, which include reference photos and finished artworks. I'm currently building up a community where you're more than welcome to share your artwork. And I'll give you some light feedback if you're up for that. So, yeah, and a few other things as well. But it's exclusive content that I don't share anywhere else. And if that's something that you might be interested in, I'll leave a link in the description below. Just playing around with muck really, and you'll see that the colours are quite muted, and that's something else that I don't tend to do really. I mean, I usually tend to aim for getting the colours or tones that I want with paintings and kind of leaving it there. But here was kind of cool because it was like really working thin paint and then thick paint over the top, which again was fun. It does give a bit more, make your paintings a little bit more dynamic. Right, so here I'm going to start mixing up some really warm colours now with that cadmium yellow deep, which looks like orange, and cadmium yellow light. And I'm just testing the waters a little bit here. The palette knife. I don't tend to feel that confident with the palette knife on such a small surface. I don't know why. I like to have a little bit more room to really throw and blend things out a little bit and really add that thick texture. And I just feel a bit, yeah, not very confident. That's why I'm going to go for the 8x8, 8 inches surface next time. But here I'm just making way for my lightest tone. So the idea was to build this kind of orange outer glow. That's kind of on the edge of the purple-y pink part of the clouds. Sounds a bit confusing, but there's definitely madness in my method, or method in my madness. Here I'm gonna start mixing up my lightest tone, which wasn't actually my lightest tone. I will add my lightest tone later over the top of this, but I want this kind of almost like white with a hint of cadmium yellow to go in the middle, in between that orange outer glow there. I want this to be a focal point, so a lot of thick paint here. And you'll see me adjust this mix again a bit later. So using my baby palette knife, I can begin by still mixing, apparently. Yeah. No, I left that mix there. So a little bit more of that the outer glow there. That kind of shines through the clouds. I think this was a sunset picture. This was taken at sunset, so yeah, a lot of warmth in between through those sort of purple and to pink clouds, which looked amazing. So I had a little, not fight, but a little play around with this area here. I wanted this to be really dominant. Didn't want it to be so. I want it to be kind of smoothed out, and you'll see me apply this with total confidence in my 5x5 inch baby wood panel. Okay, just cutting in some lighter areas there with the side of the palette knife. If you don't know me by now, I love the palette knife. I got a lot of nice effects here, so I just picked up a little bit there just to scrape it away. I love scraping away because you just get like this, like another layer, another dimension, and it just looks awesome having this abstract kind of texture that's not like thick paint, but it's kind of scraped away paint, and it's still like thin paint left on the surface in areas. I just love it. So a little bit more of that orange mix there, and yeah, just scraping away really and pulling back things. And I wanted this bright part to be a little bit more narrow, a bit smaller. So and here, okay, I'll just jump into the blue mix there. That's what I mentioned earlier about mixing that pinky color to the blue mix, which I really loved, and keeping that hard shape above the clouds. If you saw that, if you can see that there, um, shapes are amazing. I mean, shapes, cloud shapes are amazing. Soft. They're not everything's. They're not all soft in my eyes. You get hard shaped clouds and soft shapes and soft edges. Sorry, but I'm also wiping the palette knife when it goes off screen. Um, Giving a quick wipe on a kitchen roll. And playing with pressure again, really, and blending with the palette knife, and not going overboard with it. I think you could say a lot with doing little, but here I'm just, if you saw that now, that's almost seeing the surface again. It's just staining the surface slightly, um, with the palette knife where I just scraped away the paints, which I love, by the way. Scraping, scratching, adding, removing, amazing. So here is where I started blending. I've got an old flat brush. I think it's a size 10, and I just started blending, really, pushing things back. Something that you've probably never seen me do so much, but just did it for fun, really. Right, here comes the good part, the great part, the exciting part. I love this part. Got that ultramarine blue in that mix with a little bit of burnt sienna, and a little bit of that Gamblin solvent-free gel, and I've just started making a cool uh, dark blue. So it's not black; it's more on the blue side. I want this. I saw on the reference photo there's a lot of coolness to this part. So lots of paint. Look at that. My panel is still stuck on the board. Thanks again, Mum. AKA Janet Fear, and I'm applying it so nicely and keeping my edges. So I've left. You'll see me now. Look, I've started to mix in a bit of random colours there because that's what I saw in the reference photo and I loved it. So I want a lot of sharp edges here and variation. Look at that. That's all the mixes that I've used in the sky that are gonna reflect into the city. I think this was taken in York in the UK. Um, and yeah, reflections from above hitting down, and a bit of pressure there. Absolutely amazing. I've just created a whole cityscape in about 15 seconds. This is where it gets a lot of fun because now I picked up that lighter mix and I'm just grazing it slightly on top of the darker mix. And again, a little bit of pink. Um, and you'll see me add some blue and yellow and everything and some smaller details, but absolutely love this part. What an interesting um, way to show a city, and it's done. I mean, I'll add some more details in a second, but it was so much fun that was. Now here I left that little bit of white there on purpose. I want a cooler blue, a lighter blue that's in the distance. I saw that in the reference and I kind of like that. Okay, so the same brush and just blending a little bit and realized that I kind of wanted to keep some of that white showing through because there were a lot of kind of lights, sorry, from the buildings, white buildings and towers. Now, I saw something in the reference photo. I don't know, a spiky tower or something. So I added it in here and then throughout the painting, I realised I didn't like the shape of it, so you're going to see me remove it and make it better a bit later. But right now it looks horrible. So just creating a few. Well, I'm removing the paint away a little bit with the palette knife, and there was a lot of kind of yellow lights here, so I just picked up that yellow paint from the same mix and just started applying it. Um, and yeah, in some areas, but I really like that broken up edge. As you can see underneath the, not on the tower on the part, but right about underneath there and slightly to the right underneath there now, where the city breaks up. I really like that um, broken blend, if that makes sense, and some hard edges, and it kind of softens up right there and just makes it really interesting to look at, in my opinion. Okay, so here I believe that I'm making purple, like on the cool color, on the cool side, almost a blue, I think. No, back to purple it's supposed to be, but yeah, I'm making up a batch here because um, I want this paint to be thicker now. So most of the sky is pretty thin, apart from the yellow and the orange part. But I want I want to enhance some areas of cool purple and blue clouds. So this is what I'm mixing up now. But trying to find the right tones. I don't want to go too dark. So nice clean brush. I think I'm gonna get my number two. That's not a two. That's at least a six. Yeah, big, medium-sized brush, and just kind of need to load it up a little bit more. Okay, kind of placing, and now I'm trying to create clouds. Um, just in some areas without over blending and mixing. I kind of want to make the mark and then leave it alone. Just some small details. And blend a little bit here and there. I want to show brush strokes. I want to show soft, subtle transitions. I want to show everything in this mini painting, but yeah, without going too overboard with it. Okay, same again. So I want to find a pink, cadmium red, and titanium white, and just add in some areas thicker paint so it sits, and kind of just leaving it. So one brush stroke and then moving on to the next part, just for some um, little bits of detail, and just love showing those brush strokes. And of course, those brush strokes are really vivid. I mean, they're really thick, so they're going to stand out. The brush is super clean and super dry. Um, but like just placing it down and moving on. And just playing with this area here and a few scratchy marks because I love that. And yeah, pushing it back even further. The blends, so it's really sort of blended clouds into the blue sky there, which I saw in the reference photo and I liked. And if you know me by now, I'm not painting the reference photo to be exact. And this obviously wasn't exact, but don't be a slave to your reference photos. You can do if you want, but I don't recommend it. I think you should be a bit free, and you want to, don't worry about getting tied down with trying to create everything that you see in the reference photo. That's not my thing. Um, okay, so pink mix here, edge of the palette. knife and just scratching in. And just pushing out a lot there because I want to blend it a little bit more um, at the bottom where the horizon is. Love that. And I think I blend with my fingers slightly shortly as well along the horizon there. Not before adding some more highlights. And look at that, just blending that a little bit just for some interest. That's really cool. Just lightly grazing and then perhaps a little bit stronger there so it blends in with the dark. And just adjusting slightly, edge of the knife. And just trying to, I want this part to be a bit flatter, a bit more minimal without it being so textured in the middle. Now, here's where I got rid of that tower and made another one. And so I just scraped it away there. And finger, okay, blend it back, push it away, dry, clean the finger, and then go back into it and blend out more harshly with the finger. I love that. Um, and I think that touch really created exactly what I wanted with this painting just by doing that with the finger, mixing those colors in. And then the higher up it gets, the more kind of texture and hard edges and soft edges come into play and more playful. Really highly textured and dark at the bottom. Love that. And here I'm just creating that weird spiky tower that I saw again. Um, I just put a bit of white there. Just wanted to emphasize this area and go a little bit lighter with pure titanium whites because that will mix slightly in the surface of that yellow that I've got going on there already. So yeah, um, so that gives me more of a focal point now and a bit more contrast, um, which I needed for the focal point, I believe. So I just want to thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate your company, and I hope that you found a bit of value into my painting process. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, then please do so and hit the little notification bell to be notified for when I upload my next video. And if you'd like to comment, perhaps share the video with someone else, then please do so. And I will see you in the next video. Take care for now.